I just unlocked the traits sober and insane. Okay.
Where am I?
Seem kind of contradictory, right?
Don't panic. It's over.
I'm back? Where are the guests?
I invited them to go up to their rooms. They're resting. Don't worry.
Gregory?
You should have chosen your allies better, my son.
You mean you planned to get rid of him since the beginning?
For years, Louis. Come now. Would I really have risked everything at such a one-sided conference without having a trump card up my sleeve?
But what about the conference rules?
To hell with the rules. From now on, I'm only following my own rules. Things are going to change, you'll see. However, I expect you to stop your childish games and follow me. I gave you time to find your feet with Gregory, but things are going to get serious now, and I expect a little more loyalty from you.
What did you do to him?
I devoured his soul.
But I didn't see you use the Holy Lance.
Indeed not. I didn't need to. Can't you guess how I did it? The Lance of Longinus is just a vessel, Louis. It could have been any object that had the blood of Christ on it. The blood of an ancient, more precisely. But I didn't need the blood of an ancient. You see, I have been in dear Lord Mortimer's physical body for longer than my brother has been in Sir Gregory Holmes. Therefore, I am an ancient, Louis.
What? That's the rules now? Is the ancient? It's just whichever demon is older? Is that the rules now? Is that the story? So he planned to rig the entire thing from the start and murder that guy. Why didn't you just poison Holm at any point? Why now specifically? And why do you have a fake conference if you're just going to rig it like, what? What's the point of gathering everyone for an election if they're not actually going to have an election?
He was your brother. Why did you kill him? He never meant you any harm.
Oh, Louis, I am exhausted. Let's talk about this later.
Because he's basically a psychopath is the reason. Questioning. How does he react to questioning again? Might as well check to see if he's immune or not. Where is character journal? Right, okay. We don't know. Well, I don't know what to do with these resources otherwise, right? No.
No, tell me why now. I want to understand.
Stubborn as a mule. After centuries of trying to convince him, I assure you I had no other option than to do away with him. He would never have allowed me to depose our father. In the past, he had already opposed me, and sometimes very violently. He seemed to you like a man of peace, because you did not represent any danger to him. But I can assure you, he was not. With anything to do with our father, he would be merciless. In any case, what's done is done. I'm going to rest in the dining room. Join me there when you're ready. The time has come to end this little antisocial gathering.
No doubt about it. This family is rotten to the marrow. I did right not to trust them. Holm told me that my last resort was to find my sister. I hope Emily's in her room.
Why are you believing his explanation? Wait, are we in the dining room? No, that's the dining room. We just... Oh, right, this is the room coming out of the conference, yeah. So, wait, why would Emily be in her room? Why did everyone get up and leave the conference after that happened? But we were still in the conference room. Did he mind control them all to go up to their conference room? That would have been a creepier scene. Why didn't they do that scene? Where, like, everyone goes dead-eyed, which is admittedly what they always look like, so it's kind of hard to tell. And then they all just get up and walk to their rooms because they're all being mind-controlled. That would have been creepier. Instead, they all froze. And then they're just gone next time we look, with no transition or explanation of how they got there, because I'm not happy with the state of this game. I'm not happy with the state of this. What is this last episode?
Emily?
Yes. What's happening, Louis? You look...
Holm is dead.
Good God, he did it!
What do you mean?
He warned me that Mortimer would probably try to get rid of him. He couldn't believe it himself. But we have to admit that he was right to be wary. We are in great danger, Louis.
Wait, what are you talking about?
When Gregory came to warn me, he assured me that we would be the next to go down.
Okay, so Holm thought that she was going to be murdered, but then he poisoned himself basically because he was so not careful. That bothers me. I'm like, what in the world? I gotta keep these straight.
But why then? For what cursed reason?
I really don't know. I'm only repeating what Gregory told me. When I brought up the possibility of us running away as quickly as we could, Gregory dissuaded me. He thought that Mortimer would see it coming and that we would have no chance.
I guess I agree with him. And now we're here. I'm not gonna let him get away with it. There's two of us now, Emily. We can count on each other.
Well, on that note, I haven't told you everything, Louis. This might be a bit hard for you to accept, so I wanted to warn you. There are 3 of us.
What?
Surprise, brother.
Excuse me?
It's Emma, Louis. Just before he disappeared, Holm explained to me how to bring her back from the ether. We were pressed for time
And the only body she could find was one of those cursed servants. Can you believe it?
Emma, don't start, please. I didn't exactly have much of a choice.
Be that as it may, I'm the one inside the body of a masked lackey.
I had to deal with the most urgent thing first. We'll try and get you out of there as soon as we can, just as I promised you.
And I'll make sure you make good on your commitment, sister.
Emma, for the last time.
She is better, don't worry. Being a demon changes many things, and the prospect of getting stuck in the ether for eternity has opened her eyes.
How did she ever pretend to be Emily if she's apparently like now she's just always insufferable all the time. Also, she was like desperate. She was so desperate to escape that, and she was losing her mind, and she was losing her sanity, and she thought that she'd been there for months already because of how crazy she was getting when it had been days. And yet she's like, oh my god, this body? Are you serious? It's like, what the? You were losing your mind and desperate, and now you're like picky about it? But also, why does he sound like he's a woman in a dude's body, like doing like a voice and everything, when like every time I take over anybody, they sound exactly like they always do, with the exact same accent and affect and everything. But she's behaving completely differently for some reason. I was under the impression that's not how that worked. I don't know.
Well, I guess it's your decision, but I hope you know what you're doing.
Are we ready? Can we go now? Louis, at this point, it doesn't matter what you think about me. You need me. I'm guessing you are well aware of what we're about to face, aren't you?
Not really. No.
That's just what gives us a chance, is it not?
It's usually the only argument the reckless have in their favor.
Take heart. We're only about to confront an age-old creature that can read our thoughts and force us to act against our will and wants to devour us. So what's the problem?
If that is your attitude, I suggest we reevaluate the possibility of running away.
Stop it. Let's all just calm down. Only a few minutes ago, it was just the 2 of us. Things are looking up. Our chances are only getting better.
How do we get rid of him then?
Killing him won't change a thing, normally. He is capable of changing bodies.
I know how to kill a demon, and the irony of it is, he's the one who revealed it to me. We have to make him touch the blood of an older demon in order to encase him in his mortal body. This is the only way that might give us a chance of dealing him a fatal blow. And I've got the Holy Lance.
What's that got to do with demons?
Christ was his father. Believe me, if we get out of here alive, I'll have a lot of juicy details to tell you about the family. This lance actually received the blood of an ancient demon, and it can work on Mortimer.
Let's do it then.
Great, time to find out if I'm right or not. Why don't we grab every lance?
Are you sure you're ready for this? Will you be all right?
Yes. Yes, I feel a lot better. Don't worry about me.
As you wish.
Let's just grab every single lance and run him through with all of them. One of them has to be the right one. Like, if we fail because I have the wrong one, I'm gonna be really frustrated because I should have grabbed all of the ones that seem like they might be the one and just used all of them on him. Fuck it. Like, no half measures. Do you think people take half measures when they slay vampires? Whenever I read a vampire story, they do everything. They stake them, and they use silver on them and garlic, and then they cut off their head, and then they burn them. Like, they do every single step. Because They're demons. Go all in. Why half-ass anything? So like, what's up? Are the other characters still around or what? Like, what's happening? I can't go in their room. They can't be relevant to the story. It's just that there's just a whole ensemble cast that's basically the premise of the game, but let's just delete them and for the ending. It super bothers me that everyone just vanished from this game. There's nothing to do in here really. They gave me access, so I figured I'd check if there's like a weird random thing around here. Yeah, sorry if you like the game or if you think I'm being out of line or whatever, but like I think that this game just totally fell apart. In fact, I think every single episode was worse than the one before it. Like it was just a gradual sliding scale of decreasing quality after the first episode, and this one especially took like a confusing plummet where I'm just like, where is the story going? And this is what we were building up to? And it's like I can't help but notice that like this is like it feels detached from everything that came before it. The only takeaway might be that that my solutions to various puzzles in the past might be determining whether or not we succeed in the future. And why was Adams a different voice actor saying a different thing? Like they couldn't even get the voice actor back for Elizabeth Adams to say the Elizabeth Adams line? Like they just couldn't do that, so they just had a completely different person say her line? I guess the idea must be that all the people on that screen were the demons and everyone who wasn't on that screen is not a demon. That must be who that series of guests. But even then you have the gap because the game called those people the house guests. But most of the house guests weren't there. Some of the people there weren't guests. Some of them were like people that lived there and so on. And it should have been the family. The quest prompt should have called that group the family if they were all the demons. Because that's what they actually is the actual descriptor that separates them from everyone else, not the guests.
What are you doing?
Monsieur Volner asked me to prepare his belongings in anticipation of his imminent departure, sir.
His departure? So quickly?
Oh yes, he seemed to be in rather a hurry.
Ah, very well. Would you know where I might bump into him one last time?
Ah, if sir would like to say goodbye, sir will find him in his room.
Thank you.
And then there's that thing. They didn't animate them getting up and getting down and stuff, so they have to fade to black and fade back. Like it's... Because even the animations are just the ones that were already in the game.
Johan!
Louis, I haven't the time.
What are you doing?
I'm getting out of here, what do you think? And going as far away as possible. Sir Gregory is dead. And in case you haven't grasped it yet, I am no longer safe here. If you value your life, you had better do the same.
Hey, wait a
No,
second.
no, I haven't time. Good luck in the future.
Dude, tell me about the Necronomicon and first of all, what the fuck it has to do with the rest of this game's story, and also like, is it useful in killing the bad guy? Which is that's what you want to have happen, right? So let's work together. Give me the information you have that can help me. No? Alright. Great. Ah, it's this room. Unless there's a character standing in here, there's nothing left to do. Yeah. Do. Should I go up there? Will anyone be up there? This is mainly just where that asshole bird is. I knew there was at least one up here. Kind of feels like, it almost feels like an Uru reference, doesn't it? Knowing how big of a cave there is down there, and then this giant hole up here that has to be pointing down into said cave. Like, that hole has to connect to the crypt, right? Although I don't think I saw, well, we can't see the ceiling when we're in the crypt, because the crypt is totally impossible. But we don't see a hole. Like, those two must be connected. Which would mean that it's actually really bright in the crypt, so looking down that hole wouldn't be dark then, because everything down there is actually pretty bright. It's weirdly well lit. Can no other character be accessed? And the only one I was able to access wouldn't say anything? He was just like, "Good days to you, sir." Now I'm back at Elizabeth's room. Alright.
Louis, there you are. Look, she's better.
Perfect.
Good.
How?
Are you ready, Louis? Can we go?
No, not yet.
Be quick. We are waiting for you here.
And I might as well see if there's something else I can do, although I don't know what that would be. Look, she's better now. I see a character that looks exactly like what they looked like a moment ago. In part because, one, I can't see what she looks like because she's a demon spirit possessing a man's body. But also I can't see what the man even looks like health-wise because he's wearing a mask. So it's like, look, Louis, it's the same character model from earlier. It changed everything. I don't know, they're giving me the opportunity to explore. All the way down to even saying, like, are you sure you're ready yet? Which implies that there must be, like, something I can do.
I think this chest might belong to Duchess Hillsborough.
But, like, I don't know what I could possibly do. This is just a chance to run around in previous area. I mean, I guess I'll just do it, right? Let's end this. Let's see how this final confrontation goes. I wonder if there'll even be a final scene with the rest of the cast, or if they just vanished forever the moment that meeting happened. This castle's so empty now. Not even the servants are around.
Good. Are you ready, Louis? Can we go?
Yes. Let's get it over with.
Louis, I've been expecting... Oh, I see you haven't come alone. To what do I owe the honor, Duchess?
I thought this discussion should concern the whole family.
Surprise, Father. Emma. You brought her back from the ether. Well, I am impressed, my children.
It's over, Father.
We can't let you go on like this.
Enough!
Louis!
Who on earth do you think you are, for heaven's sake? Did you think I wouldn't know what you are planning? You are mere insects compared to me. You never had a chance.
Help! My head!
Let's do it!
Now!
Ah, how dare you!
Keep going, it's working!
Get him!
Oh, Louis!
This is hilarious. A nail? A nail? One of the nails used to open the crypt door. Okay. That's all it says? Is it just like a placeholder weapon if I don't have a lance at all, I guess? I thought I was like, oh my god, is it one of the nails that like nailed him to the cross? That'd be amazing. Because that would have his blood on it. But it's just a nail that I used to open the crypt door. Alright. Cool. Everyone's just like using their mind powers in each other.
Do it!
It's over. You've lost.
No, Louis! No, stop! Oh! My son!
Come, Louis. It's over.
Let's leave.
After you.
So we get the bad ending, apparently. because it wasn't the wrong. It was the wrong spear, I guess. Now Mortimer took me over when he died. Is that the end? Wait, is it over? That's the credit. That's the theme song.
Von Volmer tightened his political and spiritual grip on King Frederick William. On the death of the king in 1797, Johann retired with his wife to his country estate in order to continue his work on his theological and alchemical thesis. Manuel Godoy's close relationship with Napoleon enabled him to claim a part of Portugal, as well as the protection of France upon the fall of the kingdom. He died in the company of his beloved mistress Pepita after recovering all his titles and properties. Napoleon Bonaparte continued his political and military rise until his self-proclamation as emperor. His excessive ambition would cost the lives of 1,700,000 Frenchmen and leave France poorer and weaker than ever before. Deported and imprisoned by the British on St. Helena Island, he died on the 5th of May, 1821, as an exile to general indifference. During his second term, George Washington had to deal with a number of rebellions. He enraged public opinion by building close diplomatic links with Great Britain, which forced him to give up a third term in office. He retired to his country estate until his death, without being able to implement the annexation of the highly coveted Louisiana Territory. The Duchess, through her relationship with the Crown, made it possible for Great Britain to build closer links to the United States on both the diplomatic and the commercial fronts. She became inseparable from the Marchioness Cunningham, reputed for being the most influential mistress of King George IV of England, and whom she inducted into the Golden Order. His Eminence Piaggi paid dearly for disobeying His Holiness over his vote at the conference. It was consequently decided to withdraw him from diplomatic and political decision-making within the Papal States. It was rumored that his great age got the better of him, and he was sent to end his days in a Tuscan monastery, where he died 2 years later. Elizabeth's family did everything in their power to find her, based on clues provided by their friend George Washington. In vain, they lost her trail in the port of Brest in France, and no one ever saw her again. On his return to Paris, Peru gave himself up to his peers of the revolutionary courts. He admitted to being implicated in several state corruption cases. Found guilty of treason toward the Republic, he was executed without a trial. Nothing more was ever heard of Lord Mortimer. His sudden disappearance was a topic of conversation in the European courts, but only for a few months.
I think almost every single title card had a contradiction between what was said and what was shown on the screen in the text. Like they changed a bunch of words for synonyms and then didn't proofread them or something. Okay. So I died. I was possessed by Lord Mortimer. And I brought the Aloes Eve back to the continent, except it wasn't me, it was Mortimer, so... And there's no alternate path. I promised Sarah to help her, then I promised the Hillsborough sister to help her, and coincidentally that Hillsborough sister ended up in a body, so I thought that maybe Sarah could have also been an option. Like maybe I could have gotten both of them, or maybe Sarah was an alternate option. So this entire game was decided by... Like this entire ending was decided by how you did the spear puzzle that one time. Huh. like I said, use every goddamn spear. I just what I'm not even like I just look at this and I'm like, I'm not sure what the stakes were of the entire story. Like, what was people's goal? What were people trying to do? What was I trying to do? Like, I could have just left at that point if I just wanted to be human. But I mean, I just decided to kill him because he was trying to manipulate all of mankind. But why did he bring me here? It's just to give himself another antagonist to fight against? Like, they supposedly all orchestrated this and knew everyone that was going to arrive. So even though I was like kind of brought by Sarah, like this seems to have all been a plan that everyone knew about and everyone knew who was going to be here and why. And like none of the guests were a surprise to the host, supposedly, I think. So why even let there be a weird resistance force in the first place that's going to face off against Mortimer when everyone else can be so completely controlled? And man, almost none of the characters did anything in episode 4 or 5 as far as like the overall council of characters. A council, I'll remind you, was pointless because the vote was pointless because Mortimer just decided, fuck it. Except did he? Because Washington never got the Louisiana Purchase, which God, I got so distracted by him talking about democracy versus monarchy that I forgot. Like, did Mortimer want the Louisiana Purchase to happen or not? Because the vote was about the Louisiana Purchase, but he was talking about democracy versus monarchy for like the last 2 episodes, to the point where I lost track of what side people were even on. But the vote was pointless anyway because everyone just got killed. And what? Yeah, I don't know. It really does feel like every episode got worse than the last one, and the first one had promise, and it never really fulfilled that promise in any of the following episodes. And this one was almost entirely filled with just filler. Like, this one really was, hey, check to see if everyone's going to vote on the correct side or not, even though it's pointless because the vote's pointless. And then the vote happened. Then we have a really extended dream sequence where nothing is really happening narratively until the part that's just like, I devoured his soul, was the only real scene. That's like 30 seconds of story in like somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes of gameplay. And then we just tried to stab him and found out the spear from episode 4 was the wrong one, I guess. And then the end. Huh. Like I'll point out that this is supposed to be like a game about ever-changing politics and crazy stuff like that, and in like it feels like in a way this whole episode was about not that, because we had a fake vote and then we just tried to stab a dude after playing weird mini games in a dream, and I'm like, what does this game become? I don't know. I don't know. I feel like the main storyline was always kind of weak. Like the whole vote and the political intrigue about it was always kind of not very well developed and very well told. But there was better distractions along the way. The stuff the story was doing before was a series of distracting, melodramatic, like harrowing situations. Like, oh my god, is Peru gonna shoot somebody, or is he taking this person as a hostage? Is he losing his mind? And oh my god, there's the Hillsborough sisters and one of them wants to kill the other one or something, and like a bunch of moments like that. And like, oh my god, our mom killed someone in this basement and she cut her arms off. I guess her hand was cut off by this puzzle. Like, they kept having distracting kind of harrowing things like that. But even those were samey. Like, how many times did Peru just kind of come into a room to be unhinged and violent and maybe threaten to shoot somebody? Like, that was almost every scene he was in. Like, every character had one character trait if they were lucky. Some of them didn't have really any character traits. And like, you could just delete 4 of them at random from the council and the story would be the same, basically, especially since none of their votes mattered. Meanwhile, you weren't even like, you would think that this would be like with all the RPG mechanics and your skills and all the ability to manipulate people and stuff, you would think that you had the ability to like manipulate people to be on one side or the other constantly throughout the game. But maybe I'm wrong, but I get the feeling that the sides were set from the beginning of who was going to be on Holmes' side and who was going to be on Mortimer's side, and then who was going to like try to betray in one direction or the other. I don't know, maybe it's more modular than it looks. And maybe there's a surprise here, but it really did feel like they just artificially like, nope, here's the two sides, and I had no impact on those two sides. And so like I wasn't working on reputation meters behind the scenes and getting certain characters to like me more or not and making arguments one way or the other of why they should do something in the narrative. They just were on sides, and then their sides didn't matter, and that was the whole story. And also like this being an episodic game is just not a good fit because it's like a convoluted political thriller kind of with supernatural elements. So like it just does not help the game that we have to wait months between each episode coming out, because that just makes it really even harder to follow the story. But maybe that helped some people not realize how much of a mess some of it seemed to be, and so on. And also the grand revelation is just that we can read people's minds sometimes, but that doesn't actually change the gameplay. We possess people like twice in mandatory story segments, largely to no consequence. Once was to write a letter for some reason for Mortimer, but who cares because it doesn't affect anything. And then the other one was to possess Napoleon to talk to Godoy, but who cares, that doesn't affect anything. So possessing people didn't matter in the story. Reading people's minds was just a little nudge, a cute little thing of like, oh, I can tell what they're actually thinking, but it only actually provided any additional information like twice. Like really the only good moment that came out of the entire concept of demons in this game was just the initial shock of like, oh shit, is Pyagi actually home? Like the mystery of me talking to Pyagi and having a pop-up that says you just discovered the invulnerability of Holm was like, wait, what? And like that mystery was actually interesting of like, oh, can Holm disguise himself as people, or is he somehow controlling Pyagi? Like that was interesting, but the answer once I got the answer, it was actually just kind of dumb and kind of didn't lead to much. Like mechanically, the game didn't really change. Like the way I played it didn't really actually change once that reveal happened, because it's ultimately was this. It didn't change for two reasons. One, the opportunities to actually use said skills were actually relatively limited, to the point of being kind of superfluous. But two, the political intrigue of the game was over at that point. There was no more, even there wasn't, all pretense of intrigue had basically already been ended by the time I realized I was a demon. So there wasn't even manipulations to pretend I was doing. Then you have like the you have like the messy animations, and like the recycled assets, and the fact that this entire episode was just using pre-existing locations with pre-existing characters and not making any new animations or like locations for them. Even for nightmare sequences, they were just this normal world locations, and we were just arbitrarily teleporting through paintings that were also already in the game, I think. And well, no, they weren't. They were images of the game's locations. And it's like, ultimately I think that this game just had a good idea at its core. I like the conversation system being a weird point system where your skills affect how much your effort meter goes up and down, and like that affects your, like that gives you a resource you're managing during conversations, and how much, and the risk reward of using certain skills is affected by your knowledge of how characters work and what your skills are in your personal build that you created for your character. Like that part is interesting, but it ultimately didn't amount to much, especially when I'm like, I'd be interested to see which specific things in the story affect the ending, because a lot of them seem like they'd be things that weren't even specifically affected by your skills necessarily, so much as just being things that could just like that they were more like choices, like conventional choices or puzzle solutions, as opposed to things your skills led to outcomes of. I don't know. So I played this and Call of Cthulhu back to back, by which I mean I played episodes 1, 2, 3 of this, then Call of Cthulhu, and then by the time I got back to this game, 4 and 5 were out. Both of them have this weird RPG-ish thing where your character's leveling up and you get points to spend on skills that make it easier for you to have, like, occultism or could not think of charisma and things like that, like just, you know, vague stuff like that. And then you can spend they can apply those skills during conversations and situations. But both of them, I just don't find myself being satisfied both with the condition the game was ultimately in and its state, but also the way that said mechanics are implemented by the end. I don't know. This one seemed better, but by the end, I'm just like, the game has to feel like it was its outcome was a result of your character build or something to some extent in order to make the building of said character feel like it was had a point. I don't know. I could spend a long time thinking about this probably. All I know is that I'm ultimately just like not satisfied with what this game turned out to be. And that was kind of a background noise ever since episode 2. Like every sequential episode I was just like, where are they going? Is this going to pick up in the next one? Is this going to like get exciting? And it mostly just got baffling. And it's over.